Joining me now on the show is Governor Tony Evers. First off, thanks for the time here.
You bet, Lance. I hope you're doing well.
I am. Well, some Democrats in the legislature encourage you to veto this entire budget here. Why did you decide to go ahead and sign it?
Well, obviously, it wasn't perfect. Everybody knows that. But at the end of the day, there were lots of things in the budget that we accomplished that, frankly, were top priorities for me, whether it was, first money, real money around affordable housing, issue of having the Republicans actually putting some money on the table for PFAS, taking care of that issue or addressing that issue. Obviously, I spent a lot of time on the shared revenue deal with, making sure that our municipalities get as much resources as they need in order to do the hard work they do. Pay increases for lots of people that are part of our justice system, which is really important. We were losing people, and that was clogging up our courts. Tourism had a good budget, and obviously, I still want to fix the darn roads and bridges, and we've had adequate resources there. So I decided that it was important that we get those things through and make some vetoes along the way to make it better.
Well, you used your partial veto power, obviously, and that was to also impact some tax cuts here. You cut the tax break for the top income tax bracket and the second to highest income tax bracket. A lot of people wondering why that second bracket.
Well, in order to make sure that it was a middle class tax cut, we actually did do a middle tax cut of about I'd say about $1.75 million. And since I've been governor, we've done middle class tax cuts by $1.5 billion. So we felt it was a good opportunity to, I promised them that the Republicans that if they sent me a tax cut that had large increases in tax cuts for very, very wealthy people, I'd veto it. And so I'm as good as my word. I vetoed it. And as it, what we ended up with, frankly, is there was small increases in tax responsibilities or decreases in tax responsibilities for wealthy people, but most of it was for middle class Wisconsinites. So I thought it was a fair approach.
That second highest rate, though, goes all the way down to $36,000. I'm sure you would agree a lot of people in that income tax bracket are middle class, are they not?
Certainly, but it also goes up to $400,000, and I think you could agree with me that that's not exactly middle class. So we had to make some compromises there, and that's what we did.
Well, Speaker Voss says he plans to reintroduce some tax cuts to people in that tax bracket. Would you sign anything at this point that alters that tax bracket?
If it's the same thing that they did before, I would not. I mean, I think there's probably other ways to look at it, and we could have a discussions about that. But if they're going to do the same old, I will respond appropriately, and
You,
that is to veto it.
you also used your partial veto to make the per pupil funding increase last for 400 years. Now, Republicans argue that's going to send property taxes soaring. Will it?
No, first of all, they love to say that, but the fact of the matter is, we always put money in the budget to mitigate against high property tax increases or any property tax increases. So yes, what I did was to give our schools some sense of security for the next 400 years, to make sure that people understand that they're an important part of our state's responsibilities. But we always put money in there to mitigate against property tax increases. To say that is to assume that nothing else is going to happen around our schools. And our schools did get some pretty good help from the legislature, especially in the area of mental health and also literacy. So, did we get everything? Absolutely not for our schools, but we made some good progress.
Now, Speaker Voss says you broke your word with that partial veto. Did you make any promises during negotiations about school funding that this veto conflicts with?
No, it's childish to say things like that. That I broke promise. We never ever talked about what the school funding would look like after these next 2 years. We talked about it in terms of what is going to happen in the next 2 years, but nothing beyond that. We never talked about that. He knows that. I know that. Senator Lemming knows that. So no, I disagree with his assessments. It's easy to say, but he cannot prove that.
Well, this partial veto power has been used many times before by governors. Obviously, it's been used creatively over the years for a 1,000-year thing and a 400-year now funding increase. At the end of the day, should governors have this type of power?
Well, I'll tell you what. If I hadn't had that power, I'm not sure we'd have a budget. So let's just say it worked this time. I think it worked, and yes, we in circumstances like this, I'll take advantage of it, and I did the right thing. So I don't have any problem with it.
As you look at the whole budget now, how would you rate this?
Grade it. I'd say we're in the B area. As I said, there's many things. Look at shared revenue. Whether you're a county, municipality, or a city, you're getting significant amount of money, and so much of the hard work is done at the local level. Whether it's police, fire, EMT, public libraries, you name it, fixing the roads locally. That's a huge step forward. Huge step forward. And of course, as I mentioned before, PFAS and money for PFAS and other, affordable housing piece, tourism. I think it's a good budget. Obviously, I would want more money for our schools. There's no question about that. But I think, and the University of Wisconsin system and the technical college system have absolutely took it on the chin in this budget. That is a big disappointment. Hopefully, we can find ways to mitigate against that going forward.
Obviously, there's still going to be some money left here in the budget moving forward now with these tax cuts taken off the table. So are a lot of these discussions going to be ongoing for the next 2 years?
I hope so, and I hope that with that additional money that we still have in our surplus, that childcare is exceedingly important in the state of Wisconsin, and the legislature did next to nothing to take care of that. We have time and effort to let's make that happen. We have this is a crisis. We're almost full employment in the state. When we start taking away our subsidizing some of the child care work that happens in the state, that means we'll have places closing. We'll have fewer people being able to go to work because somebody's got to stay home with the kids. And so I'm hopeful that that recognition is a real one on the behalf of the Republicans, and they can use some of that money going forward. That can happen anytime. They can come into work next week if they want to. I don't think that'll happen, but by fall, hopefully we'll have discussions about childcare.
Well, Governor Tony Evers, want to thank you so much for the time here this week.
Thanks a lot, Lance. Have a good one.